UFC Louisville ended up being a very entertaining card. The main card, I think, had 5 out of 6 finishes.
Yep.
Crazy entertaining. A lot of highlight-worthy knockouts, finishes. But before we get to the main card, Alex, let's recap the prelims.
The prelims at UFC Louisville at the KFC Yum Center.
The KFC Yum Center.
We're finger-licking good. Gave us a lot of fight time. I was trying my best to get through that whole thing, and I couldn't. I stumbled over almost every word.
What's the name of the 5-layer bowl KFC has?
I don't know.
It's like the fat-ass bowl. Or
something like that. The prelims were exciting. We had a lot of decisions, some split, some unanimous. 7 out of 8 on the prelims went to the cards. Puja Tumar beat Royan Dos Santos by split decision. One judge saw it 30-27 Dos Santos, while the other 2 saw it 30-27 and 29-28.
Somebody's wrong there.
Right, in favor of Tomar. Now, we kept it one-sided for the next few, where Taylor Lapilus, Denise Gomez, and Daniel Marcos all, kind of respectively won their matches whole-handedly. There was no question. It was all decisions. Kind of a quick 45 minutes of fighting, but an entertaining one nonetheless. From there, Montana De La Rosa outlasted and barely outscored Andrea Lee from Louisiana.
She broke her foot, Andrea Lee, too.
She won by split decision. And then from there, Brad Cantona, he proved too much and then too strong for the Louisiana native, Jesse Butler.
Katana, former UFC tough winner.
Tough winner, yep. Carlos Protz, his knee landed so hard, he secured the KO over Charles Chuck Buffalo Radke. It was a performance of the night, and it gave the big mouth no mic time, which probably was best for the UFC overall.
Yeah, the stocks didn't plummet because of his words.
And then no surprise when I say there was another decision win. Ludovic Klein kept it easy, kept it cool, and kept the win streak alive with his decision win over Thiago Moises. That was another unanimous decision, 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards. A lot of fight time, quick analysis. What do you think of the prelims overall?
They were entertaining, but I think the main card overshadowed the prelims. As you said, 7 out of 8 on the prelims went to the scorecard.
Yep.
Well, only 1 out of the next 6 fights on the main card went to the scorecard, and it's actually going to be the first one we cover.
Yep.
It's going to be Baez-Soriano. Soriano ended up getting the unanimous decision win.
It was crazy scorecards. 30-27 in favor of Punahele Soriano, 30-25 and 30-25. So he completely dominated Miguel Baiza.
Yeah, 2 10-8 rounds on 2 of the judges' scorecards. I would say that's a domination.
And I agree. I thought Miguel Baiza was gonna come in and perform. My only excuse for Baiza is ring rust. That's all I'm gonna say about it. That's
yeah,
my
I think
only
that
chance.
was the reason I went with Soriano, was because both guys were kind of on losing streaks.
Right.
One guy at least has been fighting. One guy hasn't really been fighting that much.
And to Punahele's credit, he's younger. He's like kind of younger in the UFC and younger in reality. So it kind of gives him the opportunity to be a little bit fresher. Punahele Soriano got a UFC record in the welterweight division. 331 out of 394 total strikes landed. Once again, absolutely dominated.
Ended his 2-fight losing streak.
Yeah, put him back on the high road. Let's move on to a surprise, one we both called. Zachary Reese over Julian Marquez. This ended in a, seemingly one-punch KO.
First round KO, 20 seconds. And Marquez, we talked about it before the fight. He's been getting knocked out.
Yep. Was his chin gone?
And it looks like his chin might be gone. That's now 3 straight first-round knockouts for him. This one in 20 seconds.
10 total strikes, 6 of 9 by Reese. Landed. Quick knockdown, follow-up KO.
So Reese does a good job. That's his first career UFC win. So moves to 1-1. He now has been knocked out, and now he avenged that by getting a 20-second knockout. Still never been to the scorecards. He's 7-1 overall. He had the first-round knockout loss. This is a good way to rebound, especially your first career loss. So Reese, back on track. I think he's a guy that, you can build off of this. This was an impressive performance. He's very talented. You're going to have setbacks in your career. This was a good way to rebound from that.
Yeah, definitely. Like you're saying, face adversity, overcome it, rebound well. Like you're saying, Zach Reese on the rise. Next up, Bruno the Hulk Ferreira.
Talk about face adversity. Bruno Ferreira
Right.
getting, I would say, dominated
Yeah,
the first round until the final about 10 seconds with a crazy
Well, not
elbow.
the whole first round. He definitely contested, but he was in some deep submissions.
He contested, but
He didn't give up.
if it would have gone to the score, if they would have gone to the second round, that would have been a 10-9.
Right. It was
easily 10-9 Stoltzfus win
You're right.
for the round.
But because it didn't, he
'Cause it
landed
didn't.
an early spinning back fist that kind of hurt him. He was able to, stomp him down. He faced the adversity. Bruno Ferreira got the final, less than 10 seconds on the clock, TKO over Dustin Stolfitz. This is the first one I have this week. His call out was Bo Nickel. Bruno Ferreira called out Bo Nickel.
I mean, I get why he's calling him out.
Yeah.
I don't see why Bo Nickel would take this fight.
It's not positioned for Bo Nickel. He's already there, kind of hunting for
He's
his
the
shot.
name, yeah.
I brought two other options: Edmund Shabazian, always
That's a
down
good
for
one.
a fight, or Andre Muniz.
I like either one of those. I take Muniz, but
Muniz has recently just dropped out of the top 15. So for somebody like Bruno Ferreira, who's got some wins in the UFC,
he's now 3-1 UFC, 2 straight first-round knockout wins.
it's a great way to show if he's ready for a top 15 fighter, because we know Andre Muniz is. He's also one win out from the right guy.
This
to
was
being a fighter.
a fight that lived up to his name because Hulk, he was taking a beating, didn't phase him, and he comes back and gets a crazy knockout. I mean, this was probably the best highlight, maybe, you would say, of
Yeah.
the card. Although we're about to talk about in a couple fights another crazy knockout.
Yeah.
But congrats to Bruno Ferreira, 3-1 now UFC, as we said. Let's move on next fight. And the prodigy, the young 19-year-old Raul Rosa Jr.
He's definitely El Nino Problema.
He's definitely a problem. Ricky Turcos.
Yep.
Turkios?
Yep, Ricky
I always forget how to
Turcios.
say his name. My bad.
I got to
But-
do this in honor of Raul Rosa. Chihuihuis.
Yeah, Chihuihuis.
I don't even know how to do it, but that's hilarious. I love that.
But yeah, second round submission win. I mean, this was Raul Rosa looked like he was going to get him in the first round. Then it quickly turned around. Looked like he was in trouble. He got out of the round. And then second round, Rosa, I mean, he showed how killer his ground game is.
Yeah, this was impressive.
This kid's only 19 years old.
Turcios, honestly, he put more out on the feet. He was trying to keep Rosa off of him, but you're able
Rosa's
to,
wrestling's a problem.
Yeah, 4 out of 7 takedowns, 1 official sub attempt, and I was reading some comments. His chin makes a rear naked choke. He's impervious to it. He can just get it down so good you can't unseal that latch. But for him to be able to just walk back and say, like, I didn't like the neck crank, I'm gonna just walk you down and
Get you to the ground and
Right.
get you.
I love
Against
it.
a veteran, against a guy who's been in the UFC a lot longer than him.
And I would
years-wise.
argue, who was better, performed better striking in this fight. It was good for Raul Rosa to, face more contention. He didn't have a call out.
Continues his evolution where he's fighting different guys and he's beating these veterans. I mean, 9-1 now, 3-1 in the UFC. That's his third UFC finish. All
Yep.
3 of his wins finishes. So
His
this-
only loss is still the decision
Mitchell.
loss to Christian Rodriguez.
Oh yeah, you're right, Christian Rodriguez. So I mean, Raul Rosa, he's a problem. Still only 19 years old.
Yep. He wants to claim UFC gold, beat John Jones's record as the youngest
I
champion.
think John Jones is 23.
He has 4 years to do it. That's what he
I mean,
said yesterday or today.
If he continues on this, that's not out of the question.
No, not
You
at all.
know, especially you can tell the UFC. He has the UFC's backing.
Yep.
If he continues to win, they're going to back him. They want him to be a star.
I know
so.
it doesn't mean much, but he's got my backing.
Yeah, when he first came out, I thought it was kind of like, he's an 18-year-old. They're just trying to push this kid. But he's legit. I mean, 3 UFC finishes. I don't care who you're fighting.
Bought his mom a car and a house.
If you're 3-1 in the UFC with all finishes, like, you're legit. And you're 19 years old. So congrats to him.
He didn't have a call out. He wants to fight September in the Sphere, Mexican Independence
Mexican
Day.
Independence.
Or Mexican Independence Week. I don't think it's on the exact day, but it's around that week. I picked a couple options. Cowlin Luffren, he called him out prior to fight in the Sphere. I think, that's a fun option. It's one of those, the Irish people who's a big talker. He's good at bringing fans. Raul Rosa obviously has the Mexican independence thing in his corner, so that helps. I think he does get a fight at the Sphere. If not, maybe Cameron Simon or Cody Garbrandt in the bantamweight division.
I think any of those would be good. I would love, just for the name factor, to see him versus Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah, I saw that up there. It's hard to find a bantamweight because a lot of them, they would just say no because realistically,
Nobody
a lot of
wants
people
to fight him, a 19-year-old that's that dangerous.
that can realistically beat a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
And just walk out off of this fight, he can. He's not.
That's
beat
what's
up.
going to be hard for him while he's not ranked and he's at this point in his career. Is a lot of these guys aren't going to want to risk it against him.
Right. They don't see anything to gain. They don't want to be the gatekeeper that he has to walk through.
Yeah.
They would say find somebody else. So they're going to give him a test. I think it's going to be for Mexican Independence Day, and I think he's going to show up.
I think he fought on the card last year for Mexican Independence Day.
Maybe the early prelims or prelims or something
I think
like
he was
that.
on the main card.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe. Co-main, let's move on to that. The surprising.
Yeah.
Dominic Reyes versus Dustin Jacoby.
Dominic Reyes ended his 4-fight losing streak, 3-fight KO losing streak. While
Yeah.
it looked like he was about to get KO'd.
Yeah, I got to eat my words here. His chin held up.
His chin barely, I wouldn't say barely, but it looked like he was wobbled, and then he said he did the ultimate Uno reverse.
Flip.
Turned out Jacoby's chin might be gone. But yeah, Dominic Reyes, he desperately needed this win.
Yeah, he dropped the hand yak 2 minutes into the first round. But here's the thing. There wasn't a lot coming from Jacoby before. I'm looking at the stats right here. 6 for 16 in total strikes. That's 2 minutes into the fight.
But he hit him
It
a
was
few
lot of
times. He was
timing.
hurt.
Now, I'm saying it was just a lot of time and figuring things out at the beginning. Dominic Reyes, 20 for 33. He more or less was saying, like, I need to win.
Yeah.
I'm going out there,
He
I'm
desperately needed to win.
swinging. I'm trying to prove that I'm still the guy in the light heavyweight division, despite the recent losses. He avenged one of those losses, at least in my opinion, proving that he's still here, he's still back. He made me eat my words.
One thing I didn't like, though, is he brought up the John Jones fight again in the press conference.
yeah,
It's
you're
like,
kind
bro,
of you're
get
old
over
now.
it.
Or it's not. You're not old. It's old.
Even John Jones came out and was like, listen, you need to get over this. Like, this has sidetracked your whole career. But congrats for Reyes on the win. Desperately needed.
Desperately. So
he's back. I wouldn't say back completely as a total contender, but 13-4 now. He's still 7-4 in the UFC. So, I mean, he still has a very respectable record and resume.
So if he's on his road back, I'm going to talk about some people that he could fight next. Carlos Ulberg. I know he's scheduled or, rumored to be fighting.
Well, no, they have him fighting Jamal Hill, but that's rumored it might not happen.
Right, rumored to not be happening. I think Dominic Reyes versus Carlos Ulberg could happen if their fight doesn't happen with Jamal Hill.
I got one for you. Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith.
I have that on the list.
That's the fight I want to see.
The other fight I have is the Uzbek Anthony Smith, Bogdan Guskov. Because at any point, if I'm talking about Anthony Smith, I have to bring his counterpart
bring that guy
in.
up.
And he's also, he's a strong fighter. He's right there in the rankings with, all the fighters we've been talking about. I think any one of those guys, I like Anthony Smith most personally.
I do too.
You kind of got, guy who can talk on the mic versus guy who can talk on the mic. It's a little bit of sway.
I think saying either one of these guys are great on the mic is a little bit of a stretch.
I didn't say you said great. I said a guy who can talk on the mic and a guy who can talk on the mic.
That's every UFC fight unless Raul
also
Rosa
me
Jr.
and
is
you.
fighting.
Yeah, it's also me and you. So I pick Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. Like you said, book it. Let's go to the main event.
Main event and the biggest controversy of the card.
Other than the first fight with that terrible judging, 30-27, wildly in
Jason
favor of the other.
Herzog, although this was
say the
Imavov,
names. Who was the
Imavov versus
fight?
Cannonier.
There you
Imavov ended up beating Cannonier by 4th round TKO. Jason Herzog, the early stoppage, he said Cannonier was out on his feet. Imavov's credit, he was piecing him up. It looked like Cannonier was close, but I wouldn't say he was out on the feet. I think it was a little bit of early stoppage. But the thing that's the saving grace is Imavov looked like he was well on his way to a win, barring a surprising knockout from Cannonier.
Now, saying that exact thing is kind of the problem, though, because we've seen, that one last shot not be taken the right way, and
i.e., Leon Edwards.
Right. You're winning deep into the 5th round. You don't.
And Cannonier's a guy that he's been in the UFC for a while, so you never know. He has the resolve to stick in there.
Right. So all the comments on Instagram and everything are saying we want to see that last punch. Whatever. I picked Imavov to win. I'm cool with
I
I'm
pick
not cool with the
Cannonier to
stoppage.
win.
I'm cool with getting the win.
I pick
off of it.
Cannonier to win. I'm not upset Imavov win. I just don't like the way it ended.
Right. And that's a rare miss from Herzog. So
Yeah, he's one of the better refs.
I'm not giving him any
But Imavov,
slack.
14-4 now overall, 6-2, 6 wins, 2 losses, 1 no contest in the UFC. That's his third technically TKO KO win.
Right.
He's won 5 out of 7 now, with one of those being a no contest. Is he a title shot? I think he's legit in the title. I don't think he gets the title shot next, but he's in the title picture. He's in that top 5 range. He's a guy, at least when you're talking about a title shot and who's fighting for the title, you say, well, what about Imavov? And nobody looks at you crazy.
At this point, yes. He's passed a couple tests. Jared Cannonier, I'm not saying he is a great gatekeeper or he's a gatekeeper, but for Imavov to kind of go through him to get a title shot in the next fight or two, I think it's a great move for him. He called out Sean Strickland to fight at UFC Paris.
I like that fight.
I think that would be fun. But I also think...
I don't know how Sean Strickland would do in a foreign country.
Well, you got rumored you have Dricus du Plessis taking on Israel Adesanya. That's going to be like UFC 305. So whatever happens there, I don't know. Is Sean get immediately ready for another title shot? He just walked through Paulo Costa easily, in my opinion. But if not, Sean Strickland, Whitaker's fighting next week.
Whitaker fighting Ikram now next week.
Right. So that could happen. Maybe, depending on who wins there. Ikram could happen. Adesanya could happen.
This is a division with a lot of
Chimaev
options.
could even happen now because Chimaev is sick.
Yeah, violently sick, as Dana White said.
Yeah, so there's several options for Nasruddin Imavov. I think he is probably in the best spot because he's the only one, other than Sean Strickland, without a booked fight.
Yeah, so he's right there.
That's the best thing.
As I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the title shot next. I wouldn't be surprised if he fights Sean Strickland, any of the guys you mentioned. But he's in a great spot, and he's a guy who now legit, if not a title shot next, he's a win away from a title shot.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all don't forget, like and subscribe, then go to w.gg, 10% off your whole order. Use code SPLITDECISION at checkout. Thank y'all.